Okay, can you hear us?
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and we'll take roll, and by the time Lisa's got something to say, she'll be fully connected, I think. Paul? Dean?
Here.
Bernie?
Here.
Neil?
Here.
Courtney's here. Jason? Corey?
Here.
And Amanda's here, and Lisa is sort of here. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
Madam Chairman, I would suggest, if you go back and look at our minutes from our September 5th meeting, we had some discussion about the county parks preliminary budget, and of course, we couldn't meet on September 17th because we didn't have a park board meeting on September 17th, so I would suggest that we add the county parks preliminary budget to our agenda today.
Would that be under new business then?
Or is it old business?
Doesn't make a difference.
Either one. We can add it to old business, that'd be fine.
All right. Okay, we can add that on there. You said preliminary,
Yes, I mean, today we're going to be in budget discussions at the county commission meeting following this meeting, and we'll be approving or discussing this budget, and anyway, we should have some guidance from this board
Okay.
going into that.
all right, I'll add county parks preliminary budget discussion to old business. Bernie?
I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead and finish that. And then Lisa said she can see us, but she can't hear us.
She's on mute. You can see the little one.
We're muted?
Oh, she
Lisa,
is.
do you have your phone or internet or computer muted?
I think I just fixed
Yep.
it.
All right,
Yep.
Okay, good, thank you.
thanks, Amanda. Okay, anything else to add or change with the agenda? All right, do we do a motion to approve the agenda? Yes. Okay, motion to approve the agenda as, with the changes suggested by Paul?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Minutes of the last meeting, September 4, 2024. Everybody have a chance to review those, and are there any edits or additions to those minutes? Defer to everybody else, because I was not present for that one.
The actual meeting was the 5th, I was on the park board meeting, but
Okay, thanks. Yeah, the minutes do say the 5th, but the agenda says the 4th. So, correct on the minutes.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, Neil makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Motion passes. Bills for approval. Lisa?
You guys have, your county parks general fund in a total amount of $25,384.15. And those are broken down by electric sales and service, for some repairs on the breaker. Frontier Productions, which was part of the community, events funding, and Rough Rider Motorsports, for their community events funding. And that's, $25,384.15.
Okay, do we want to go through and approve those individually before we move on to item 2? I assume.
I think we can do it
Yes, I
collect.
think that's what they've been doing.
Okay. Corey, did you have some?
Yeah, can we just approve that account for that?
I think so.
Account 1?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can I get a motion then to approve the $25,384.15 just discussed?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, never mind. Paul?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Corey?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Okay, moving on to account 2. County Park Special
Not in
Project
big-
Fund. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the special project one, and so the Central Mechanical, that was a bill that came in for the restrooms at the fairgrounds for hooking up the water, making the connection. And then we had the City of Dickinson removal, so that's basically taking the trees that we removed from the Lakeview Park project that we're starting, and just to take them out to the dump. So that's what those two are, so the total of those bills are $3,161.80.
So I'll make a motion to approve, the county park special projects for $3,161.80.
Okay, Corey makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, Paul?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Corey?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Moving on to item 3, retainage release on the restroom project.
Yes, and that one is going to Coling and Coling. If you recall at the last meeting, we had kept some retainage on the restroom doors for some painting issues that we had there. They did, Dave Nesser did fix those, and they painted them with a nice hard paint, and it cured, and we watched it over the weekend for the CSU rodeo, and it worked really well, and so I'm just recommending that now that that's complete, we go ahead and release that retainage in the amount of $7,009.51.
I think we approved this last to give Mr. Messer the approval to,
Yeah, and that's fine. We talked about bringing this in front of us now
Okay.
that it's here.
okay.
But my only question was, I thought we did $1,000 a door, so whatever it is, it is. So if it's the 7,009, I'm fine with it. Whether it's 7,000, that's fine too. Whatever it is, so.
I think we rounded it off to.
I thought it was
$1,000
$1,000 a door.
I mean, it was so much per door, but then we rounded it off of the total bill.
That's right, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Corey seconds. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Paul?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Corey?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Moving on to the County Park Director's Report from Lisa.
Okay, and that one, you have a copy of the current event schedule, as we are starting to develop the 2025 events and signing contracts. So you'll see some of those in red that are just working on signing. One of the new ones that I did on behalf of the Stark County Fair Association was the Purina Endurance Classic, was a dog trial. And I understand that they were in Iowa and they want to try to come here. So we went ahead and did that, and we will know here, I think in a week, is what they said, after their meeting, and know if they come. But that's a 10-day show where the top 128 dogs in the nation come and compete for some awards and different things. So that one will be a pretty big deal to get up here. So we're hoping that that does come to Dickinson. It'll be a big show for a lot of people. But the weed department spray, I think, Corey, if you want to talk about that part of it, or even Paul, you can give that update. But we met, and they can kind of give you the update on what we're going to do moving forward on the weeds.
So Travis is going to take care of the weeds out at the Speedway, the fairgrounds, county shop, right? Everything except for ground clear.
Yeah, well, noxious weeds, for sure, 100%, take care of that. I mean, there is still some discussion about bare ground spraying. I think he's trying to, formulate a plan here. I think that that's gonna be addressed at our November quarterly meeting, at the weed board. Little hesitancy possibly on his part. I mean, he thinks he's maybe a little bit short on help at those times. Some discussion about timing of that, but I think we're gonna pick that discussion up again in November. So, and put that either to bed or not.
Yeah, and I
So-
did have a discussion with Al after the meeting about maybe sharing an employee or whatever to help out, so.
Yeah, yeah, and then I think that's a good idea, potentially. I mean, that employee would have to be, if they was coming from the roadside, have to be certified and all that. There's a little bit of, some mechanics to that whole deal. It may be a little problematic, I mean, depending on the employee. I mean, the pay rate for that road employee versus the pay rate, over at, weed side of things, so.
The discussion I had with Al, he has someone identified that he wants to approach that has a license already, that once worked for the county. So, is that correct still?
Yeah, he actually went through the training and got it, and he's the type of guy that likes to be by himself. Didn't quite work out with us, so I have not approached him yet. I think Corey and I will kind of deal with that.
So he would be at the county, he would be at the road department?
Right.
Okay.
And then he likes to be by himself. He could go out, he could spray after hours, weekends, whatever. He could do his own schedule. And if I can talk him into it, he's the type of guy that don't like to be around a lot of people, and I get that, so.
And he's currently at the road department?
No, he's not. He was there,
Okay.
but I have not talked to him yet. I think Corey and I can get together with him someday and see if we can come up with something. I think the weeds are kind of over after the frost hit, so
Well, I think,
we'll have this winter to kind of get something.
Could probably start some of it a little bit earlier then too, if we got some issues that we, I know.
We got this winter to work on it, so when the springtime comes, maybe we'll have everything figured out.
I mean, I'm of the belief that we have the equipment. If
We do have a sprayer at the county shop, the sprayer with the reel and everything. So we bought it when we had a guy working for us. But, so, we don't need any new equipment. We've got what we need to spray the yard with.
And so does the weed department has a bare ground unit, dedicated bare ground unit. That they
We
can
could
as
use that
well.
one that we have for that.
Yeah, okay.
How often are we spraying out there? I mean, what's the requirement? Is it once a year? Do they have to do it monthly or?
You know, weeds like to grow when it's dry, so we had a lot of them this year, but, if, like Paul mentioned, that bare ground, if we could get that this spring, then we don't have the issue we have, but we've, you know,
Even the bare ground, I think that you're gonna see, if you want, for presentation purposes, it's typically gonna be more than one application. You're gonna get most of them early, but you're not gonna get emergence of all those weeds right away. So you're gonna have to have some touch-up, most likely. But overall, the county doesn't have that much property, that to bare ground. You've got the fairgrounds, you've got your shop, you've got probably some bare grounding out at the racetrack.
yeah, Richardson, Belfield,
Yeah,
so.
some parking lots and whatnot, so it can be handled. I think if we just put our heads together here, I'm pretty sure we can get this
agree.
done. So-
I agree. Thanks.
Okay, anything else from the county park director?
Nope.
All right, I don't think we needed a motion for any of that. Moving on to old business. First thing I have is 4-H council presentation by Bridget Bullinger.
Hello.
Did I say your
Morning.
last name right?
Morning.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how we say it over here. Okay, I'm up and running here, so. I'm Bridget Bullinger. I am currently the president of the Stark Billings County 4-H Council. I have a couple other members with me who are better on their feet than I am, public speaking. So if you have questions that I can't answer, they're in the back to help with that. But some of you have seen part of this before, and I tried to update it. So a little history about Stark Billings County 4-H. Started 100 years ago, so this is kind of our 90 years ago, so this is kind of our update from February with our 2024 Achievement Days being concluded. So in February I had different numbers, but since then we have gained 6 members throughout the summer, and we are right now in the middle of enrollment for the next calendar year because our years go through September. With our Achievement Days this summer, we increased from last year an additional 23 static units. We held our static exhibit at the BAC in the concourse there. It was really warm because they didn't have working air conditioning at the beginning, but we got it done. The different sizes of the exhibits for that vary every year, but we were able to fit inside this year because nobody restored a tractor or anything, which is good for us. And then we held our animal events over the course of what would have been 3 days, but it was about 2.5 days. And we were up about 46 animal events this year. We ended up hosting our large animal and our round robin events. That was the tornado day. So we held that at the Dickinson State Arena so that we could be out of the elements. So kind of a timeline on what led me to be here today is a little over a year ago, 4-H had a conversation about building a 4-H building on the county fairgrounds. We were approached with this idea. It ended up not moving forward with the person that came to us with that, but the 4-H council then kind of picked up that conversation and were like, hey, yeah, what would this look like? How would that work for us? So in February, we were invited to go to the mandatory stakeholder meeting, I guess we would call it, that we held, that was held over at the other county building, and got to talk there. So much of these slides were the same that were at that presentation in February. But talking about a 4-H building, what would that look like for us? What would our needs be? Things like that. So again, 4-H has continued to meet kind of on our end about that. I know at the park board meeting last month it came up, which led me to be here now. We met with the Fair Association out at the fairgrounds on a windy day, which was not luckily as windy as yesterday, but did some walking around outside, discussed inside, kind of what the Fair Association was looking at for layouts. They showed us some examples of other buildings, one in particular that they had liked from another county, and then met with them again last week. 4-H did our presentation kind of about what we were looking at or what we were considering to meet our needs and for some growth, and then here we are again. So of course I Googled what is a county fair, because part of our discussions evolved not just from what 4-H is or what 4-H does and what we would need to host our 4-H events, but what is a county fair? What does that look like? So I asked, of course, AI now, because I'm super techie, what is a county fair and what does that involve to make sure that we're kind of hitting on those points? Because not just 4-H people, or we're not here just as 4-H people, but we also have kids that do FFA, that have open class events, that do junior point shows, things like that. So in my research, a county fair is obviously a large public event and typically includes the listed items there. So you're thinking your carnival, your games of chance, your competitions, whether that's a livestock show or judging gladiolas or those types of things, displaying educational opportunities, whether that's a company that is talking about their product or service, whether it's people selling like they would at a farmer's market, or all of those little pop-up trade shows and things that we have around town, those vendor shows, things like that. Usually people think of live entertainment, some sort of stage where there's different acts or things. And then, of course, the food. What can you serve on a stick, deep fried, things like that. So we, as 4-H, we go to lots of county fairs and state fairs with our animals or our projects or our kids, or growing up in other counties, kind of pulling on those experiences, thinking about what is a county fair. Other groups that we thought of but can't speak for, because again, I'm here just for 4-H, would be like the FFA chapters that are in the county. The Southwest Art Gallery, maybe they would have things that they would want to display or have judged. all of the open class events that you would see, which might be the largest pumpkin, flowers, those types of things. Other people's animals, there's a lot of adults that still show animals as a way to show their product, essentially their bulls or their chickens or different things. And then, partnering with the Southwest CTE Center, if they're doing projects through their classes and things, having the kids the opportunity to show that off. Also, people selling hot tubs, people selling trailers, those types of things is what we think of when we think of a county fair. So here's my really high-tech layout of the fairgrounds. So right now we obviously have a beautiful and super functional rodeo arena. That's my rodeo little thing down there. Then the Fair Association, has been talking about an indoor riding arena because there's a lot of other events, 4-H included, that uses not necessarily the rodeo center, but has riding events or Western pleasure, different things for that. The Fair Association has also talked about having, offices there and or an event center that would be like the blue and the white, the pink and purple, little buildings I dropped in there, big buildings really, for commercial spaces, for, selling your, I say ShamWow a lot, but selling your My Pillows or all those different things that you see at the fair. And then people displaying things in that middle, whether it's tractors. I think my kids have climbed on every single tractor that's ever been parked at a county fair. Just, look at those. Food truck vendors. And then I put the livestock kind of up, which would be the north where the pig is, kind of out of the way of that. Because when we were talking about it as a 4-H group, we kind of got the thought process of like a mall concept. You don't put the two huge anchor stores, they call them, like right next to each other, because you want to be able to fill in or have smaller items in between. So we kind of left the rodeo grounds where it was, obviously, and then moved the livestock away from it, also to kind of separate if you had multiple events. So it looks like the rodeo grounds are booked every weekend, but we could still have other shows or other things on that other location. Will you discuss this and I'm gonna get a drink?
There's some water in the fridge in that room there.
Jason Dorman, I'll fill in here. I guess just in our discussions of what our facility needs were, a 40 by 60 show ring, penning space for livestock, that we really need to be allowed to bed those animals in wood chips and straw and be able to feed hay, especially if we would go to, a multiple day, where we would stay over for the county fair feel. And we just have to be able to get them out of direct sunlight. You can sunburn a pig pretty fast. Durable ties for all your beef animals, those kinds of things. The high capacity electrical, that's pretty much driven by the blowers we use as we dry cattle and goats and the rest of it. They'll blow breakers. It's nothing excessive, you just have to have more home runs. So as we would price something for that, you need a lot more 20 amp breakers that are separated for those kinds of things. And then obviously to keep the animals comfortable, we need airflow, clean water, as well as, and then, in addition to that, all of our static exhibits. I mean, the dream is to get everything in one place, one location, right? Instead of being on two ends of town and those kinds of things. And then also an area that doesn't get quite as much emphasis just because we don't really have a space for it to where the public could see it would be demonstrations in a stage area for like clothing review, and they do poster boards, kind of like a science fair thing where the student will present what they learned and give you an educational demonstration on that. So
Good
ready
job,
to take
thanks.
over?
I'm alive and well. Sorry. So anyway, that was what Jason went over. It was kind of what we talked about when we started these conversations last year. Like, what would we need? What would we use? What would it look like? So this was kind of our like list, I would say, of what we went off of. Like I said, some of you have probably seen this several times. So then we kind of talked about location, because we were just looking at it from our standpoint. Where would be a good location that wouldn't impact any future plans? Because that was a lot of the stuff that we've seen when we tried looking for like a master plan online or previously. It looked to us like there was the big building up in this northwest corner, like on the top of the hill area. And then obviously the rodeo stuff is where it is. So we kind of looked for a spot that would still be functional, obviously part of the fairgrounds, but like I said, has some separation so that you can have multiple events going on and that didn't take over somebody's master vision for like the larger spaces. So we did some quick renderings to try to look all professional. So a livestock building, like we talked about, we envision it to look something like this. Obviously a large building with we put a lean-to on the side. In conversations that we had, it looked like this was gonna be the most economical way to span it based on the way that they build trusses and beams, was to put the lean-to on the side. It also, from a top-down view, gives us plenty of space in the large part, which is 200 by 80. And that would be where like our show area would be. That's where we would have like all of our flexible pens. We could get bleachers in there. We put a couple overhead doors so you could easily get things in and out, could open them for airflow. We were able to put all of the smaller animals in here too, because they have usually they're in pens on tables. So being able to shift those around, some ties, and then in the lean-to area, we could put the larger animals, cattle, things like that, and then had a cement wash rack. That's the part that has the X on there. With the way things are done now, how we, I think Jason said it last time, make our animals all fancy is, we're using a lot of product, essentially hairspray type items that we need to wash the animals like right after they're shown to get all of that stuff out, all the product and everything out. So having access to that is important for us. And then the lean-to could be the area where we store these other items that would then leave that larger space open and functional for other events and other uses. And then with this too, it would be functional for other shows. Like if there was a large goat show or a regional show or whatnot, they'd still be able to flex this space around to work for whatever type of animal, chicken show, whatever they have. And then talking about the static exhibit building, again, this is kind of what we see in our mind when we talk about it. Just an exhibit hall that you could either expand or add on to potentially, or that you could replicate other times for open show items or things like that. This one we had, I think it's 7220. Is that what this map is?
7,200 square feet.
Okay, 7,200 square feet. So it's 120 by 60. We popped in like a little kitchenette type area. We don't want to get a kitchen because then you'd have to do all the hood regulations and all of those things. But a lot of 4-H events, we serve food or the kids can sell concessions or things like that. Could also use it, like Jason said, as part of those demonstrations or those project talks that kids do. Have a little room carved out for storage because we would have all of our display stuff, whether that's tables or cage stands or different things to display posters or whatnot. We need a place to store that out of the way so that, again, this building could be used for other items, meetings, other projects, other groups. So we kind of talked about just from a 4-H standpoint, or the people in the 4-H family, we would call it, other potential uses for a space. Shooting sports is our fastest growing yet most limited item in 4-H, and a lot of that is because we don't have a space that is handicap accessible or that is large enough to accommodate for that. We are predicting that this is going to be our fastest growing area, and that our numbers are going to probably double, if we can, at least double, because we're equipped staff-wise to really meet all of the needs and expectations for training more leaders and helping with that, but we are limited with a space to do that. So these other two buildings could help with that right away as soon as they would be constructed or available, or a space like that would be available. And then obviously with the 4-H families, we're local producers. We have other shows that we're affiliated with, whether that's a Junior Point show or those types of things. If it's a bull sale, stuff like that, that other people related to 4-H could use that. And then demos or things for products, or like fitting clinics, things like that, where the kids could use it. We also have really strong livestock contests, or teams, but we don't have any contests locally. A lot of that is based on location restraints. So having that type of space where we could host a horse judging competition or livestock, things like that, where other kids from other communities would come here, do the contest or do it as a workout, have training on it, those types of things. My kids could teach you all how to make a cow look fit and fancy. It's really intense. So again, this is a super popular slide, got quoted many times from my presentation in February. When I was looking for information about enrollment numbers and things, we stumbled across this, which was the goal now for 50 years, is looking for having the achievement days in one location, having facilities to house it instead of having it all over town. This year we were in 3 locations. So that's kind of my presentation on behalf of 4-H. I appreciate you guys letting me come and talk to you again. Super fun public speaking. Any questions or thoughts, comments?
Go ahead.
So you mentioned when you were talking about the 60 by 120, you said the 2 extra buildings. So is there 2 60 by 120 buildings in addition to the 80 by 200 that you're looking at?
So we were looking, what we've always kind of circled back to is having a livestock show barn is what we're calling it. That's the big one with the lean-to, and then having like an exhibit hall. So that would be for like the static exhibits. The static one is the 120 by 60, but the more we thought about it, if FFA brought all of their stools that they make in class, or if a master gardener group or whatever got together and wanted to do more of their types of items at a county fair, this would just fit 4-H, but this plan could be replicated multiple times or could be added on to this one based on where we put the doors.
Okay.
Again, realtor, dietitian, not architect or engineer.
I have a question about the larger building with the show ring.
Yes.
Are you envisioning that to be concrete, or would packed dirt serve your needs?
We can do this on packed dirt. That would be totally fine. The main area that we would need cement is the wash rack area. The rest of it we could get by with, because like Jason said, we're gonna put wood chips down. We're gonna, actually it's an insane process of what we do to like build those beds, we call it, for our animals. A lot goes into that. But we would set up the stalls ourselves and can do that on packed dirt as long as somebody can run in there with a bobcat and get it out of there. And then 2, it would be functional for being able to put the different pens different places or set that up differently.
And I assume there's a need for air conditioning in the static buildings, but obviously not in this building.
Yep.
So I do like the idea of the way you have sort of separated. But in the same respect, I see both sides of it. I see the economics of having it close by, you know, for septic and everything else. I do have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
For the animal products you use, and I'm assuming they're not toxic anyway, so there would not be a problem when you wash it down into the septic system because you're using it on your animals already.
Yep, yep.
And the second thing is, in this one over here for this, all the different stalling,
Yep.
do we need extra space for storage of that stuff when it's used for other things?
We would envision all of the things that are in this top part, like all of our panels and these little square pens, tables, and all of that, we would be able to fit into
The washing area?
either the washing area or just in that bottom, which would be the lean-to where Jason has all the little cow pictures. Yeah, and it should fit in there. This one I have I have a different view of where we put like all the doors. You can kind of see on this front view, there's 2 side doors on the lean-to. There's also, I think, 3 doors in between the lean-to and the big part to be able to get those bleachers in and out or animals in and out. And
I
that kind of
think,
stuff.
and Neil can probably have more information on this, but whatever uses we decide for this building, I think building code will dictate a lot of our doors and exits and stuff like that.
Yeah, based on capacity, occupancy.
And uses, I mean, if you have a concert, you need more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which this is not designed for concerts,
Yeah.
but different uses
Correct.
create different needs for
Exit
exits.
strategies, yep.
You had mentioned, location. I know that there's some concern. And I've been part of all these conversations between the Fair Association and 4-H. And, one thing that keeps coming up is, location. I know that there's a proposal coming from the Fair Association about, where they want to, locate the building and the layout of what but I've heard concern about the fair, the actual livestock barn, the show barn, and some of those concerns being, maybe better that it's further away from the rodeo and the high activity areas of the Fair Association or fairgrounds during, the county fair, if you will. I mean, if you could maybe touch on that a little bit.
Yes. Other thoughts on that? Like, even as simple as like running trailers through and things like that. The animals are all trained-ish, but still, we have 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds involved in this. So we would want it to be like able to be secure-ish where we put it. And then 2, from like a noise level, for having like those multiple events going on at the same time. If we're having our livestock show, there's sound systems and stuff like that involved. If they're having another event, we don't want to be competing with that, from a sound, from a traffic, from a flow of the animals, in that, like, we don't want to, like, congest it, really. And then 2, for trailering, loading, unloading, I have the biggest animals, but we have big fitting stand. Like, we have huge fitting stands. We have huge show boxes. We have a lot of stuff that we show up with. So being able to unload that, load that up, I don't want it to be too congested. And then 2, being able to have separate things. To me, my personal opinion is there's enough space, so why wouldn't we kind of use some of it? And then 2, that indoor riding arena, I think is also probably going to be pretty popular and used. To me, that makes sense to leave kind of where it was proposed to be, because there's pens and other things over there. Am I answering that? Did I hit all those points?
Well, I just look at this is some new information here, the way you've got
Yes,
this laid
I
out.
made this. Can you tell?
I kind of like, the idea of where you have that main, got the rodeo and the riding, and then you've got your show barn up north. I mean, you've created kind of a midway between, if you will, between those two complexes, where you can put all your vendors and whatnot. It's kind of an interesting layout for sure. But with all the utilities and what's already there, does that flow, does that work? We were out there with Al. I mean, there is some considerations out there, right?
One comment, I was to the College Realtor this weekend. You don't realize what a footprint 150 horse trailers and 200 stalls take up. I mean, it's unbelievable, the footprint that they take up when they're there.
I guess that's another reason there, right there too.
Yeah, because same. I was just thinking, if we used to have in the Dickinson area a fall show, the West River Ag Expo, if I remember. But if there was that going on the same weekend as DSU, that could happen if it was far enough apart. We could use my little parking show up there. You could keep the livestock kind of on that top edge, and everyone could park our trailers over there. Jason and I and Dustin, did you go to the State Fair with your trailer? Like, we unload all of our stuff, we go and park it like a mile away, we walk back. So we can leave our trailers somewhere, but like Al said, it's unbelievable what people have to bring and how many parking spots that does take up. So that was kind of our thought. And you have people like me who are trying to drop off their kids. Like, I need a loop. I'm not backing up my trailer.
Come on.
I'm a forward only driver.
I have a couple questions. I know we're talking about separate facilities. What do you think, just off the top of your head, a utilization during a fiscal year of a facility would be? Is 60%? Do we have an idea?
Ken? I am not sure, and I don't know that we've came up with that.
I think Kurt Freilich, NDSU Extension Agent, Stark Billings County. Utilization, one of the things, and when Bridget showed her slide about potential uses, this archery shooting sports is huge. Currently, there is one facility in the community. It's upstairs in the building. It's not ADA accessible. I think we have got a lot of youth that want to get involved in that program. And the one thing that's really positive about it now is with Marilyn, our FCW agent. She is what I'm going to call a train the trainer instructor. And one of with the shooting sports program, I believe they have to have an adult instructor per 10 youth. So we got adults that want to be involved. We've got youth that want to be involved. We have location problems.
Is that seasonal? Is that seasonal, the archery, or?
It usually goes kind of year round. They have an indoor component to the shooting sports, especially archery. They also have an air rifle component to it. There is a muzzle loading component, which is, of course, outdoors. There is a small bore rifle, which, of course, is outdoors. But the archery component kind of goes year round because they also have, I'm not an archer. So I think something called 3D. They have those shoots, and their state contest is in May, June. They just had an archery fundraising shoot for all people at the 4-H Foundation property in August out here at the foundation property, which was the Lumen Ranch.
And Corey, I'm glad you asked that question because that was part of the reason that I asked about the dirt versus concrete. Because I think a lot of the 4-H use would be in the summer months. And if it's something that can be done on packed dirt, it's a big enough building that you could set it up for a riding arena in the winter months. So we're actually using it year round. I mean, is that something that you guys have considered? And I know you have multiple 4-H groups that are horse centered.
Yeah, the horse, the equine aspect of things, some of those folks are looking at riding their animals year-round. Some of them are not, because they're youth. As they've gotten older, they get more involved in high school activities, sporting activities. So they're balanced just like everybody else. They're balanced on their life. So those that are really into it, they're into it.
I think a building like this, use, it'll constantly get more use. It's limited to people's imagination, what they want to use it for, and I think that we'd be pleasantly surprised at the amount of use it'll get.
I agree. I think that's kind of the Field of Dreams mentality. If you build it, they will come. If you have the space, people will fill it. Even, just with our affiliations, if that was available, the Junior Galvay, the Borgo, like all of these different things that we are involved in, it just kind of snowballs from there. And like we said, like FFA or all those other things that the kids might be involved in that are in 4-H, if the space is available and people know about it, can probably turn into other uses, I
I
assume.
think the dirt floor is an advantage for this building. So,
And it's more economical.
So
there's an advantage.
this whole process, and I know that the Fair Association is going to come up and present to and discuss their phasing and what they've got going on. I mean, what you're basically talking about is a standalone facility for 4-H. Have you put any pricing to it? Do you have any idea cost for something like this? I mean, in the ballpark at least.
Yes.
There's some very preliminary pricing. There's some stuff that is, bring it up here. See, I'm not as techy as.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Oh, you're fine. I guess the preliminary and probably, we certainly tried to pad it significantly. The actual material cost for the poles and the steel and for the livestock, that is a good number at $326,655. We had that priced out, but where all your variables come in, electrical, concrete, whatever, plumbing, we don't know exactly how far everything is.
So you're talking both buildings, static and show would be pole steel?
As far as the exhibit hall, I mean, that's how we had it looked at.
Okay.
Of course, the exhibit hall is a finished out facility, so
Yes.
it could go either way. It could look more residential, or it could, that would be, that could be decided later. But, our preliminary estimate would be, 1.4 million for the big livestock barn and 770,000 for, the exhibit hall. And you're looking at 2.47 million on that and like I said, that does include, the fundraising that we're looking at doing for, all those,
Like the fixture things, like obviously the
panels.
panels, all of
yeah.
that is.
That's included in the
And
2.4?
that includes us doing 250 of that number, is what we were looking at.
But that was included in that 200.
In the overall
2.4.
number, yes. So,
That would be 2 buildings
Yes.
and your equipment.
right, yeah.
Yeah, so that we
That's
can
how
use
it's.
That's
it
all,
for-
all in. That's, you mentioned, but he
Open the
says,
door and show up.
because he said building materials, that's labor as well, and footings and foundation.
Right, yep,
Got it.
labor's
All right.
It would
included.
not
Yeah,
include like adding extra electricity or another
The final
septic system or something like
yep,
that.
the final number would have labor, electrical, concrete, plumbing, numbers for the HVAC and the,
Put another drain field for the septic. Is that included in there?
We didn't know that part.
yep, those would be questions.
And then I have a question. We just put bathrooms out there this year, and there was some issues with, if I recall, water pressure, getting enough water to that. Southwest Water doesn't have a boost, or enough water out in that area.
Yeah, that was for the restrooms with big events, multiple people, where you would have constant use, that the supply and volume that Southwest provided was inadequate or not guaranteed, where you'd have low volume flushes, to be the kindest, gentlest word I could use. I don't know what volume you would use in your restrooms.
And I guess I didn't notice how many restrooms you really had on there. I think that one building only had like,
3 stalls each
okay,
is
Yeah,
what,
just
is
in
what
the
I was
finished
looking
one.
at.
We didn't put any in the other because we didn't know
right?
what
Yeah.
coat, like if we had to or whatever.
And I don't think that's the only water use, the wash bay for the livestock as well.
But
The
that,
wash bay, yes, however,
The way around that is, like we go to a fair in Botno and they've got like a 300-gallon tank that just fills all the time on a float. And they've got a booster pump, and so you never run out of water there really. And they would be a similar size show to what ours would be.
Is that non-potable water, or is that actual potable water that's filling that 300-gallon tank?
Yeah, it'd be Southwest Water in this case, yeah.
so you could not use our well water for that.
I wouldn't see why not. I don't know the quality of your well water, but I wouldn't see
Well,
why
it's
not.
nobody's drinking the
Well,
water, so I mean,
yeah.
at that point, it
Right.
can be used for,
Yeah, for
For
sure.
washing and, yeah.
Can I ask a clarification question? Is it with the donation that you guys are, or the funds that you're expecting to raise, is the expectation that this is solely used for 4-H, or 4-H gets preference over, 2 competing events, or what's the expectation there?
we would like it to be our home for when we need it. But part of who we are as 4-H obviously is community involved. So, we don't want to have to thumb wrestle another event to host our stuff. But obviously, if we're not there or not using it, by all means, we would want others to use it for their events. But yeah, we would definitely want preferential treatment, however that would work.
and so, once this would be built, how far out could you make a calendar so we would know what other dates could be used for it?
We could make a calendar really far. We currently are operating like on a 3-year look ahead for our achievement days, and then it would just be all the other
I mean, once you develop your archery
stuff.
program.
Yeah,
and-
like once we know, and once too, with some of those like livestock judging contests, if we're usually the third whatever to host a contest, other people would get those on their calendars, so we'd be able to be predictive in that. We just don't have we go to a lot of things. We leave the county to go to them just because we don't host them or have them here. But I feel like
probably
others
could.
would engage in that, right? Isaac?
I mean, I would definitely see working a partnership in however way we can keep you guys as a priority. I mean, in my mind, I think that's just the way it's the winning
Sure.
combination for everybody.
Like, we see it as the 4-H building, but we also see, where are you hosting your whatever? Oh, we're having it at the fairgrounds in the 4-H building, kind of
Yes.
a identifiable thing.
Yep.
So if the cost is 2.47, do you have an ask have you prepared an ask yet? Are you ready to make an ask? Where are you at there?
I'm not quite sure what you want us to do. I assume that the next step would be to have some sort of plans that would be more professional and have like a bid sheet and all of that stuff. I don't know all of the hoops and loops to jump through from this standpoint. But yes, we would like to keep going forward. Like Jason, his grandpa showed outside, his dad showed outside, he showed outside, his son is graduating, he's showing outside. So we're thinking of really not even the immediate. We'd love it to be turnkey as soon as possible, but we would like to keep this going so that when Ian has kids, there'll be a spot in the county that will be out of the wind and be able to put his goats. Are you still gonna have goats?
Well, I agree. I would not be opposed to throwing some seed money into planning designs and bids. We've done that with all our projects. If I remember right, it cost us $20-some thousand to design restrooms. I mean, I would certainly be open to that if that's in the ask. I don't know what, I think that can be done in the single thousands, not, it doesn't have to be 5 figures, but I think we could get that done for 4 figures. Anybody have an idea where that needs to be? So that you can have it designed appropriately.
And like, we obviously understand this is county property, so it's a county building. So there's obviously all of those rules and regulations and proper method of operation for that. We just want to be there too when it is, you know, if it's not us that's carrying this, that we just get involved or invited so that we can be like, oh, hey, you know, it needs to be this high sidewalls because the pigs will, you know,
What's the-
escape or whatever.
Who's the contractor that you've been working with that gave the numbers, the preliminary figures?
I am not sure. Clint Sickler pursued that for us, and he is not here today, but he was the one that rounded all that up for us.
Maybe we could just get those figures and see what the best next step would be in going forward.
Well,
We don't
You know,
know.
we got another presentation coming from,
Yeah, I was gonna say Dustin also
I mean,
wants to.
those are gonna have to get combined somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions for? Did I get it all?
Any other questions?
Great
Thank you very
presentation.
much, Bridget.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yes, and if you want copies of my master layout, I will.
Can you send that email out?
Yes.
Yeah, I can
Or
send
that
you.
presentation, I'm
Yep,
sorry.
I can send you those.
Thank you.
Right, next is Eventplex phasing proposal and fundraising update by Dustin Elkins, Stark County Fair Association Chairman.
Good morning, everybody. Dustin Elkins, Chairman of Stark County Fair Association. I think we all have this in our packets, just kind of a quick update. And I think we kind of went through, you know, our phasing proposal last time, but, you know, I guess we were involved in some meetings this last month. We were challenged at the last meeting to get together with 4-H, and we did that twice and a month ahead of schedule. So I thought that was good that we got that done. And I guess, you know, we went through our phasing proposal last time where we were looking at, you know, the covered pavilion type arena and then an exhibit hall. I think what came out of those meetings with the 4-H council for myself was to probably adjust our sizes and make sure that we can accommodate, you know, what they're wanting to do, what size we need for that show arena and have the livestock stalling big enough under that covered pavilion. And then also to make sure that the expo hall would be, you know, of a dimensions that would work for the 4-H shooting sports. So I guess, you know, in the interest of time, we're moving along, getting pretty long here, but,
You're not rushed. We're not
okay,
rushed here.
okay.
No, we want to hear it.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess I'd, you know, not sure really where to go from here. I think we need to get, I feel we need to have a committee to get together with you guys, 4-H council, us, and come together, because I guess my personal opinion, having, you know, 2 separate facilities out there when we're gonna be using, you know, different times of the year for the most part, not all the time, I feel is probably not the best use of everybody's money. And I think, you know, we propose like the large arena, when we get to that, you know, phase 3, you know, that's 150 by 250 arena floor. You know, everything that the council has proposed would fit right down in there. And I think, I mean, hopefully in the last month, everybody's felt that we're kind of leaning this toward 4-H to start with. I mean, that's our priority. You know, we want a full county fair. That's where we're headed. And
Dustin, can I ask a question?
sure,
You have kids in 4-H, right?
Yep.
So you-
yep,
Cows
I'm
and all
stuck in the
that.
middle, yep.
the bigger building, obviously static building aside, the bigger building that was discussed, what changes do you see needing to be made to that so that it accommodates?
I think
the
it's
Fair
gonna
Association's
need
needs
to be a little wider and then just bigger for the most part. And I think adding the lean on the outside to, you know, maybe put the wash rack and some of those tie stalls and things underneath there, that's a great idea. And then I think, you know, when those tie stalls are out, that could be used for penning rough stock for a winter rodeo, you know. I mean, just
thinking, outside the box and just what more uses for the building, but I don't know how to, I guess I'm kind of at a loss at how to move this forward anymore,
I have a comment here. First of all, I'd like to say appreciate the effort here, because I sat with you a couple weeks ago and then last week as well. And, I read the phasing idea, and, I mean, you've got 4-H front and center, which is great. And I appreciate that, wanting to accommodate 4-H. I think that's a great thing. I think we can all agree that this is a component that is going to be really critical to fleshing out this whole idea of a county fair. So I can appreciate that, and I hope you're not frustrated by this process, but I think that, and I think you are a little bit. And,
Little bit, yep.
Yes, but at the same time, I think there's, I mean, I asked the question.
Everybody's frustrated with this process because we've been going in circles.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's some lot of good thought that's been
We've
gone
come up-
into it.
In the
And-
last 3 months, I think we've made a lot of
Yeah,
progress.
and I don't think it's maybe it's a situation where they can coexist in the same building, but I think that there is definitely some validity to this idea of the spacing of the complexes and separate facilities, and I think that overall, potentially, that could create a better flow for your county fair. And, and there's nothing, obviously you guys are trying to head to a large riding arena, indoor riding arena. I think that's where this started in February, is where we're trying to really get there with the Fair Association. So I think there's good argument on both sides here. I mean, combining them, obviously, if we can actually get that done and everybody can coexist happily and 4-H can expand their programs and continue their upward trajectory of their members, that's great. Or does it, is it better to actually have two separate facilities? So, I mean, I like I said, I know it's a little bit of a frustrating process, but I think there's a lot of thought going into this thing. I think we're only gonna do this once, we wanna do it right, so.
Then how far down the road do we kick that can on that next facility again,
And we definitely don't wanna see underutilized facilities either. So,
Well, and
we're
I-
one sitting empty 35% of the time of the year, and
Yep, and I think that's kind of where my thought process is through a lot of these meetings, you guys have challenged us, how are we gonna maintain the building? How are we gonna heat it? How are we gonna, and the more uses we can do, in the last month, I've talked to a few people that, ride horse, and I asked them just point blank, what would you pay for a riding pass for the winter? To be able to, get in as long as there was time available, not restricted to like 3 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon or whatever, that type of a thing. And I said, would you pay $1,000 for a yearly riding pass? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And I guess through those conversations, the arena, by manning their Ensels, that's how they paid for it. They sold 300 passes for $1,000 a pop, paid for their whole arena. Now, obviously, we're probably not gonna be able to do that, but I think that would go a long ways to pay the maintenance costs and, those other things.
But one thing, by separating, sometimes, I mean, you can maximize your building. When you're trying to
Yep.
juggle and trying to accommodate everybody, I mean, in the end, everybody walks away unhappy. If you're trying to just fit everybody, stuff everybody into one box here, and you gotta try to figure out the timing, and I'm not saying that it can't be done, but, I mean, you maybe minimize your opportunities by basically, we would like to see some preference for 4-H, but if 4-H is gonna have preference, that means that you're gonna have some times
Yeah.
carved out that you won't be able to sell those riding passes, and like I said, I mean, when you buy a pass to the rec center, for instance, you wanna be able to go, you don't wanna have any restrictions.
And I think that's where the calendar of events, especially from 4-H's standpoint, comes into play because, I mean, I grew up in 4-H too, and we just weren't doing a lot with our animals in the winter. You're not, I did not have cattle, but you're not getting your sheep ready in February. But February is when high school rodeo kids are getting their horses legged up. So I think that there is potential for balance in using both. Would I like to have my own separate awesome riding arena out there and a 4-H building like the state
Yep.
fairgrounds? I mean, yeah, but that's probably not realistic for the next 5 years.
But maybe it is,
Is it?
and maybe it is.
And I think that's where we're, our wish list and our realistic list are, quite different. So I think we'd probably need to, I mean, I feel like we can coexist in the same building
as long as we build it to the specs that are gonna meet multiple groups. And I guess that's where I look, and then, the maintenance costs, scheduling, things like that, double the buildings, that's double the work, double the maintenance, double the heat bill.
Double the staff to keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, all those things are, I think, just gonna be, if we have two buildings, it's gonna be tougher to do that.
So if you go down the path of the facility layout that you have on page 2, there, looks like there's a facility somewhere that's similar to this, because I see Interstate 40 and some
Yeah.
other names. How does this plan affect the quote-unquote indoor arena plan? Because this plan here, this building is like 150 by 280 or something. The arena that was presented to us in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months was significantly larger than that.
And I think we were trying to put everything in under one roof. And by doing, a phasing plan where, if we can get this covered pavilion up, that'll be, I hate to use the word Band-Aid, but kind of the Band-Aid for the 4-H for now, to get something done. I mean, if we get going, we could have that up by fair next year. I really believe it's a roof and trusses. I mean, it's not that difficult. And then once we build, another arena, we could, move the show into there if that's what 4-H would want to do, or if they'd want to stay under the covered pavilion. But then that covered pavilion could be used for a warm-up arena for the main arena, could be used for, like the Purina dog trials, they were wondering if we had some sort of a large roofed area, just open area to sit under, and set up their food and things like that. I mean, there'd be kind of, if you build it, they will come insane uses that'll just come out of the woodwork, I believe.
So your covered pavilion initially was projected as no sides, right? Or maybe a
Yep,
4-foot.
or a windscreen, or, yep,
I mean, but, it could be covered, or it could have
could,
sidewalls.
yep.
Yeah.
But I think if you're gonna go all the way, then why not just build the other big one right away, And then we're back to, is that really realistic to get that done really quickly?
So the indoor arena that you're showing on this page, that is the main arena? Or is
Yep,
there-
that would be what, and I mean, the sizes, this, the layout that's in your packet is conceptual, And we can move these buildings around. I mean, like the little boards we had, Bernie and Paul, you saw at those meetings where we were just trying to kind of figure out where we want to lay stuff. It's all conceptual at this point, and that's, I guess, why we don't have solid bids, because we're not gonna go waste some contractor's time and, getting solid numbers until we know a direction we want to go for sure. And then we can get, option A, B, C, or,
And I know we continue to talk about these two facilities. We still have an outside arena too, so that's
Yeah.
there currently.
yep.
So,
And I think, parking lot, I don't know if we did build a building, to the north side, is there like zoning required parking? Those types of ADA compliant, all that, does that play into it? I guess I don't know. I just sell feed, I'm not a zoner.
But you kind of, I guess I want to piggyback on my question was, the large arena, the last thing I think I looked at was 300 by 500. Is that still in the,
I think
does
that
the
is
indoor
morphed
arena
into
now
this.
replace that? Is that gone?
I
Because
think-
I think from a funding mentality from the county perspective, we allocated money for an indoor arena.
Yeah.
I don't know if this triggers that or not. That's fine. I'm open for discussion on it. But I guess my question is if you do the 154 by 281, does the 300 by 500 get out of the dream world? I mean, does it go away because this would serve what you're looking for?
I think this, with the 3 different parts, would serve, what we need. We were, the very large building, we were trying to put the static, the arena, everything, stalling, everything under one roof.
Was that more like an event center type of a
Yeah,
proposal?
yeah, more of just one really large building. And I mean, like you guys said, the more time you go, the better ideas come along. We're trying to,
Yeah.
just work. And I think we're trying to put a plan forward that's quickly realistic.
Yeah.
Maybe that's,
I think
because, I mean, I got on the Fair Association in 2017, and The only reason I got on the Fair Association was to get a building built, because I was sick of setting up panels in the DSU arena.
Yeah.
That was flat the only reason I've done
But
it.
if we talk about functionality, I mean, I think our expectations can't be too high either. I mean,
Yep.
in our
Yes,
rodeo arena, right, nothing happens between October 15th or November 1st and the following spring. So when I hear the 65% number, I don't know, to me, not being in your capacity, to me seems a little high, but, and I'm not expecting it to be there, but
So in the end, if we end up with a cupboard, whether it's on the north end of the property and a static exhibit building, wherever that may be, and an indoor writing arena, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
I don't think I mean, right now this, because ultimately I think the goal for the Fair Association is to get to their indoor writing arena. That's right. We want
Once
to
you
get
get
there.
that's only conflict will be scheduling between the 4-H.
Well,
And
but
if you're, like you said before, if you're buying a membership, use of it.
But what I'm talking about is.
Oh, okay.
Right.
The Fair Association, when it gets, their ultimate
Oh,
goal is to get to.
in the
indoor-
future.
Indoor, well, no, indoor
soon.
riding arena is the focus. But then, this adding this 4-H pavilion, show pavilion, and a static exhibit building, whether they're separate,
So you have 3 buildings.
3 buildings, okay? I mean, which is basically being proposed, where they're located, but if, I mean, in the end, if the Fair Association ends up with an indoor riding arena, which is what you're fundraising
Right.
for right now, right?
Not just for riding, for
Sure,
For whatever.
for
happens
whatever
in
it
the-
is, yeah.
the indoor archery shoots in the winter.
So if we really were to compartmentalize this a little bit, I mean, I think right now we're kind of at this point where things are located is kind of a sticking point, right? I think right now there's kind of a concept from the Fair Association that they want to kind of put them all together, make an event plex, and 4-H has got this idea that they'd like to be off a little bit. In the end, I don't think we end up with more buildings. I think we end up with the same amount of buildings.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I think, but we also end up with more bathrooms, more electricity ran, more water ran.
Well, I don't know about the electricity. I mean, both projects are gonna have to have electricity, and there is some discussion about, the static having, bathrooms, which I think would be appropriate. I mean, if you're gonna have that space available year-round for other events, even other than 4-H, the idea of even walking across the parking lot or through the riding arena all the way across over to the current bathrooms, which are actually not 100% winterized or winter. Or, can you run them in the wintertime?
the
Well, they have
restrooms,
They have
the
heaters. They do have
restrooms will
heaters.
be winterized,
Yes.
yes.
But they do
But they do have
heaters.
heat in them.
Yeah.
Yes, you could leave them open, but there's no events out there, so let's
Right.
be safe.
And I'm sure each facility is gonna need Wi-Fi out there so whether it's all together or separated, there's gonna be a bunch of additional cost, I believe.
There's no
separating.
doubt, whatever gets built, we're gonna have additional costs here in operation expenses, there's no doubt about it. I just think, I think that's, maybe if we were to boil it all down to where we're at as a project as a whole, is whether or not we want the buildings all together, or do we want them a little bit separate for various reasons?
Well, and I just wanted to say I agree with Dustin. He's had to do this for 7 years. I've only had to have these conversations for the last 12, 13 months. But yeah, we're trying to look, the fairgrounds is an elephant. Well, the easiest way to eat an elephant is a little at a time. So everyone would like to move forward with something. We just need someone, I think up here, to say, go with this. And start with that and then kind of let it go from there. Hopefully it will be this huge, county fair, 5-day, 7-day event where everybody goes and everybody goes multiple days and you're getting admission income to the fairgrounds and you pay for parking, all of those things that other places have. We're just hamstrung kind of on how do we go forward? And then yes, how long will it take? The bigger we go, the more expensive it is, and the longer it's going to take. How can we go forward?
I agree, build something, events will come to it.
Let's start here.
Yeah, events will come to it, and then next thing you're gonna wanna build something else
And then,
because.
if it's too small or
Fair
it needs
enough.
to be different, then let the next people who volunteer for
my
these
kids deal with
positions
it,
move on. Yeah.
We don't have to eat the elephant all at one time?
Yeah.
So ultimately, all
That's
these
all.
plans, where this goes is, I mean, we could talk about plans all we want, but it's gonna take money to do it. Right now, we've got 1.5 million that was pledged to the Fair Association to tackle their indoor arena. And ultimately, the county commission is gonna need some sort of recommendation from this board whether or not there's more funding available for potentially adding the 4-H component. Because I think you're doing, I mean, you're fundraising, and Lisa
Yeah,
had
and I
mentioned.
think we've got commitments, but if they don't see us moving forward, they're gonna take their 501c3 money and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
We need commitments this year.
Yeah, we gotta go, I mean, we
By
gotta
October 30th
put
or
a stake in the
whatever.
ground here
And
quickly.
by you guys taking the money that's been pledged towards
Yep.
you, plus the 1.5 from the city, or from the county here, by spending that money on, potentially on 4-H accommodations, you're taking money away from yourself to build your
Yeah, we're
event.
putting 4-H first.
Yes.
Plain, I mean, that's plain and simple. That's,
Yeah.
and maybe that's selfish on my part, cause that's,
Well, that's. I
my
wouldn't
kids don't
really-
barrel race, but I mean,
Yeah.
maybe,
4-H
but I
is-
think that's been fairly obvious, that's the largest need. And,
It is our largest read now.
and,
Right
but
now
I
it's
think,
4-H.
yep, but we take the 4-H, their needs, incorporate them into these buildings, thinking about other things, so that, if they wanna race go-karts in this thing in December, we can do that, as long as we build it right, put the right ventilation in, all that.
Is there any appetite on this board to consider additional funding for 4-H and to add to this pot? And eventually we get to a spot where we're
I'm good
in
with that.
agreement with, concept, placement of things.
Well, I would want to see what is kind of being firmly proposed. We have Fair Board vision, we have 4-H vision. I would want to see where we can make that work, and then look at design and cost and see what the appetite would be from us. And I guess that, I go back to my original comment, maybe it is time to get some professional design involved here, where we can design the livestock building for 4-H. We can maybe design some of this or all of this, the facility layout that's there, but I don't want to spend a bunch of money on that. We wasted money. We've wasted a lot of money in the past on designs. So let's keep it kind of streamlined. Don't get weighed down in the details, but get it, so that you do have the ability to go out and ask for cost estimates. And then if our cost estimate falls in line, then let's go heavy on the detail and get it formally bid and financing and that kind of stuff.
I mean, is there someone that we could consult with that is an expert on county fairs or fairgrounds as far as flow and the whole 9 yards? I mean, what we don't want to do is put a bunch of stuff out here and find out after the fact.
But I think
that-
our users they go to, the feedback I've had is they go to 4-H events all over, right? And you pick, ooh, I really like this from Botno, and I really like this from Jamestown. And then they said, if we had the perfect world, we would kind of do it this way. I don't know that we need somebody from out of state telling them what a 4-H facility should look like, right? I don't want that.
So I know we've talked about this several times. Lisa has had drawings brought up. You've met twice with 4-H. 4-H is in front of your mind on this project. 4-H is all about as well getting something started, right? So we can all agree upon that, correct? Right. So I would propose that we put in because I would say $15,000 for drawings for a single facility.
I don't know if he'll do that for 15,000.
Well,
I think the preliminary could be done for less than that.
Oh, the preliminary, yeah.
There's a term used in building called design builds versus having one person design it and the other person bid it. So you have design builds. That's the concept I have where somebody, whatever it's, I mean, I'd be more than happy to be involved, but we get the Fair Association concept one side of the table, we get the 4-H concept on one side of the table, and we get builders or designers or whoever who are, if it's a pole barn metal building, there's a number of those individuals, and they could lend some expertise and some guidance to that.
But Neil, isn't that the problem, is that we're moving on two separate tracks here with the two different concepts? Don't we want to merge them
know that-
into one?
I don't know that we need to force it down the throat of either Fair Board or the 4-H Council what their facility should look like. I think if you get enough input and feedback, Dustin might say, "Ooh, never thought of that. That might work." The 4-H Council might say, "Ooh, never thought of that. That might work," and we can somehow mesh them, because there has been. Let's be honest. There's been a disconnect between 4-H and the Fair Board, without a doubt. And it's done nothing but delay projects down the road. And so if we want to move forward, I'm more than happy to do that. But let's do it with a facility and a design that we can afford, rather than do this grandiose conceptual deal that we go, "Oh yeah, there's 12 million bucks, we can't do it." Let's keep it affordable. And by doing these design build concepts, they'll let you know that from day one. An architect's, he likes designing stuff and billing you at $300 an hour. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
Who did you utilize for the restroom to draw that up?
Well, they were designed by an architect, but once that $900,000 or $910,000 bid came in for the restrooms, we kind of grabbed it by the horns and said, let's redo it, and visited with local builders on how to make it utilize, function, basically the same size, and let's make it affordable. So I would credit 3 or 4 local builders who made concepts or contributions to that.
And this is where your figure is less than 15,000 then, correct? That's
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And we have to be a little careful I don't want to get into a point where we utilize somebody and then all of a sudden we're in violation of some kind of
correct.
bidding deal or whatever. But I think all of them would be more than willing to bring info and data to the table.
So is the
Okay.
suggestion to have one architect come and do the drawings for, here's what it would be if it was, one building, here's what it would be if it was 4-H and a rodeo arena in 2 separate buildings, here's what the layout of each would be,
I
and
think
let's
that would be
talk.
the second step. The first one is, let's get the players in the room with 1 or 2 concept. And I know builders don't like doing it because they don't like sharing secrets and all these kind of stuff. But get them to be part of the conversation and say, okay, now we think we can afford this, and then get it professionally designed, architecturally designed. And I think we could do that for less than $10,000. I really do.
Somebody have a motion that we can understand that to go forward with this?
So it seems like we need a motion to commit a certain dollar amount, or to suggest that the commission commit a certain dollar amount to secure a architect or builder to go forward with the plan.
And these funds would come out of the park board, I assume?
Yes.
We have special project funds.
Okay.
yeah.
I would make the motion to allocate $10,000 out of the Park Board Special Projects Fund towards a conceptual drawings and to bring a plan forward to this Park Board. So I guess that's a motion.
I'll second it. So we should, you gotta stay with the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. We're committing funds, I suppose. Okay.
But you can probably ask for some discussion.
Yeah, is there any other discussion?
Do we want a time frame on this?
Yes.
It's October 1st.
Yeah, I'd say today's October meeting, we could have a special meeting. 30 days might be tight, but I think we could get it done in 45 to 60 days.
Dustin,
By
do you have any
December?
issues with that? December?
I would prefer November, I guess.
I prefer November too, but
Because this is gonna happen, we're just kicking the can down the road another month, and
Well,
that's
if we
gonna
can get it done in 30, let's do it. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, in my experience, that might
Yeah.
be a little unrealistic.
Yep.
And you're talking to have not just retained somebody, but to have the drawings done.
Some conceptual drawings.
Conceptual,
Most of those
yeah.
guys have software that will make it look and whatever, without saying, okay, I need 20 amp breakers to, do this. You put the concept together, and then the architect comes in. That's where the code compliance provision comes in and all those kind of things, so.
by the end of November?
What do you say?
I would like, I mean, if we can have her done by the 1st of November, and I think, you know, we need to have somebody, hard timeline and somebody responsible to drive the ship.
4-H, think they can make that manageable too? Correct? Thumbs up? Yes?
I think it's gonna be a situation where you've got a 4-H rep or two and a fair board or two rep in the room, same time with
The individuals?
Bernie, you sit on the Fair Association. I would be more than happy. Honestly, I think Neil should be involved here.
I'd be happy to do it.
And get those people in the room at the same time with a couple of builders, have a spitball session here and figure it out. And, cause you know what we're talking about there, we might find that there might be some great cost savings, for doing certain things, certain ways, but we should have some professionals in the room.
And I think that's gonna help with the code. Do you need a parking lot? Do you need this? Do you need, you know, all those types of things?
So, and the $10,000, I mean, so we've got that money pledged. Are we paying these contractors? Are we gonna sign a contract with, we're gonna pick a couple of contractors out of the pool here in Dickinson?
Well,
and-
I don't know. I don't think the initial conversations would need to be. I think you would weed out and get that involved right away. So you talk to XYZ builder and say, hey, are you willing to participate? Yes. Do you expect to be compensated up till the design process? And they would say, I charge X amount of dollars an hour for it, or no, if I have an opportunity to bid it, that's all I'm looking for.
Okay,
Yeah, because at some point, once this gets farther down the road, you'll have to bid it out.
yeah. So there would be some compensation available for if these people wanted to get in the room and help us out. Okay.
This being in the ETZ, you might want to get the city involved too, the city planner. and
Well, I think we can plan the buildings first, and then code compliance would bring into the ETZ.
The next commission meeting, is that the 7th or is it the 5th of next month? 5th is election day.
We moved it to the 7th.
We did move it to the 7th?
Yes.
So do you think by November 7th?
Okay.
I'm game. I'm spending 10 to 20 hours a week on this, so sooner we get done, the better.
I'll gladly start it because I have those conversations
Yep.
all the time. And you figure out who your representatives are, get it to me. 4-H council do the same. And then Bernie and Paul,
And if you
we'll
guys are
probably
gonna,
have to notice it, but
Yeah,
that's
that's what I was
fine.
gonna say, you can notice it as like a work
If
session
I
or
stay
something.
out of it, we wouldn't have to notice it for the quorum rules?
Yeah, you've been
What's the
pretty
big deal?
involved, though.
Big deal, we notice it.
Yeah.
That's no issue.
Okay,
No big deal.
all right.
Okay, Paul, do you need to revise your motion?
I don't
to
know if I
include
do
all
or
that?
not. I'll repeat my motion. I would make the motion, Madam Chairman, that we allocate $10,000 out of our special projects fund, the Park Board Special Projects Funds, towards a conceptual drawing and planning, to include representatives from 4-H, and two representatives from the Fair Association, along with Commissioner Messner, Commissioner Marsh, and myself. That would be my motion.
Prior to November 7th?
The goal would be to bring something to this Park Board by November 7th.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Yep, I second.
Okay, any other discussion?
Do we need to, on the 10,000 individual?
Yep.
Yeah, we probably have to
Yeah.
have a roll call.
Yeah. Any other discussion? All right, if not, Paul,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Bernie,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Corey?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Should we have Lisa involved? Would she be involved under the Fair Board, or would she be involved under the Park Board, or where would she come in at?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, she's.
Well, we'll just
Probably
get her
both.
in the
She's
room
in
and
there,
we'll
yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah,
She's got many hats.
Why don't? So I just want to make sure we have that.
I
yeah,
think
and I
her,
guess, you know, as long as we keep going forward, I was thinking about this last night, I think sometimes the enemy of good is great. You know, we don't need to keep trying to build the perfect thing. Let's just get started and it'll come together in the end, so.
Great.
thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
All right, we're running short on time. I don't know if we continue. We're gonna table some things.
Yeah, I was just wondering which ones we could. We could easily approve the out-of-state travel.
We have
Oh,
county parks preliminary
budget.
budget discussion that was added to old business.
Okay,
Wanna
let's
go
do
on
that.
to that
Let's do it.
real quick?
That's critical.
All right. I wasn't at the last meeting, and Paul, you added this. Do you want to discuss?
I just thought, just as far as the process goes, I mean, we are the park board here, we're sitting as the park board, and, I mean, we are having budget discussions here, and I think it would be good if our county commission would have some recommendation from this park board, on the proposed county park budget. So, we went through it kind of quickly in our last budget process. Last Tuesday was all over the board, if you will, and just wanted to get this nailed down. I know there's probably a few items in there that are up for discussion, and we kind of brushed over at the last meeting. And anyway, just like to involve the park board. And I guess you're the really only other one that's not, that wouldn't be on the county commission, but. So, give you an opportunity to look at it, and I don't know if you probably
I
don't
don't
even have it in front of
no,
you.
I don't.
So, I'll give you mine to look at, I've got another one here. I guess I would reserve probably compensation pay, from this conversation, because that ultimately will be set by the county commission. But all other items I think are up for discussion. Where we at here? I gotta pull mine out.
So if the actual is blank, is that there has not been any expense in that category? For 2024 actual through July 2nd?
Look here. Let me get mine here.
Or is it just not calculated yet? So-
No, we don't have everything. Where's my county part?
I think one of the, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think one of the things that should be up for discussion is under the Speedway, we have two line items in there. One under capital improvements for 80,000, some, where we have referenced some specific items out there. And then just some miscellaneous expense out at Motor Park Speedway. You know, that whole facility is kind of in limbo as far as what direction we're going with that. I'd certainly think that maybe we scrutinize those two numbers just in case we go a direction that we're not throwing good money after bad.
So we do currently have that facility leased out for 2025 though.
Yes. Unless, Lisa can
That's
stand
both.
corrected, unless we find somebody that wants to take over, I think Brad is willing to walk.
So that's both the Speedway and the motocross track. Lisa?
It's one and the same.
Okay.
Is there any of that that's the $80,000 line item? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, when I see capital improvements, I see off to the side where we have referenced the covered grandstand at the Speedway, and then the covered stall area is for the rodeo area, I believe, right, Lisa?
Can Lisa hear us?
Yes, it was for both. When we originally did that budget and met, we didn't know at that time that, the motorsports park would not be released. And so there was some things that we were looking at doing there, that will not happen, until we have a solid direction that we're going, I guess.
But currently, he is taking it for the 25 season. Is that,
Yes.
we're good there? Okay, here we go. Sorry, Neil.
And
but-
that, those dollars that are allocated for the motorsports park are for any kind of a maintenance, any kind of repairs. Like this year, we had some unexpected repairs to do with the water heater and some of those things. And I think, we've done a little bit of improvement on a few things out there, but it's been pretty minimal.
Have you started with putting in any of the new lights?
Yes, Dave changed out a couple of the lights. You guys have approved those in the prior meetings in the bills, but they've just, as they go out, they go up and replace a couple of those. I think there was 2 this year on the track and then 1 in the parking lot that they had replaced.
And the cameras were put up this year?
Yes, they were installed, and last year we had looked at it about an $11,000 install, and it actually only ended up being $135 for the install for it, so it really wasn't a significant expense, so that was positive.
So once again, are we at, okay, the capital improvement, which were you just talking about? The 15,000 for motorsports park? Is that for maintenance, right?
Yes, the line item that's
Okay.
at the very bottom.
And-
I don't have the budget in front of me to look at. Unfortunately, I didn't know it was gonna be on here. 'Cause
Yeah.
I added it last month for you guys to look at and do, and I know I've asked before for direction if the park board wanted to do the budget, and it has never wanted to. They wanted the commission to do it, so if that's a change in process, I would like to know that, if you want that going forward, to start that discussion in June with you guys, so that we're presenting that properly to the commission in the right order,
And-
versus you looking at it after the fact, basically.
I didn't really mean to ambush you on this, Lisa. I just thought, like, just for process, I just thought it was a good idea that this park board had some input or at least knowledge of the budget before they, because, I mean, most of us are county commissioners here, but there are a few stragglers that aren't, so it'd be good for them to know as well.
Yeah. Well, and
Can you explain the community events, the red highlight that's
The com-
50,000 in 2024 and nothing allocated in 2025? I
It
assume
was
that's,
added into the.
We've
they
merged the
moved
two.
it up to the, from 120 there. they just
Gotcha.
moved it.
Okay.
And that's a good point. I was gonna bring up community events. Currently, we have $170,000 committed or proposed for community events. I know that there's been some discussion about the process, how that gets allocated. I'm not really necessarily saying it's wrong the way we're doing it currently, but I know that there's been some concern about, by the time he makes it to us, it's basically done already and agreed to. And maybe we want to be more in the process, or is this a county commission thing? I'm just looking for
Well,
some comment,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
guess.
it is commission funds that do this, and I've opened it up, so I'll kind of address first. But I've expressed my concerns are that we've made the process to spend that 170,000, almost, and visited with Lisa about it, where we need to get more players involved, more people involved in making those recommendations. Because at one of the previous meetings, the discussion was spending X amount of dollars for a function out there and whether or not we could control it. And there was a question to Amanda whether or not if we appoint somebody as an agent for us, does that authorize them or more than one person, if it's 2 or 3 people, to spend the money without, if the money's there, they're authorized to spend it because they're the agent. And my position was I think the county commission should be approving those, or the park district should be approving those, because it is county funds. I think that's just the appropriate way to do it. So that's where that discussion comes.
Should there be a process where, whether it's, doesn't matter whoever wants money or whatever event, I mean, do we need to have some sort of presentation or ask from those individuals prior to?
What, I think, yeah, I don't know if they have to present to the full commission, probably an application form of some sort, and then after the event,
Recap?
on how you spent the money and, that you spent the money in the way that we, as a commission, should see fit
Yeah.
and that would be for anybody that gets this money, if it's
Yeah,
from.
I'm just thinking of other things, and a lot of times it ultimately comes to the full commission, and I'm just trying to, I would listen to a recommendation, but I think it needs to come to the commission, because sometimes, you give a community sponsorship event, and you do it to get them here for the first 1, 2, 3 years, and then all of a sudden it's deemed automatic that continues to happen when there may be other things that we could attract with those same dollars. I'm not an expert in that, but I'm just saying I want to maximize those dollars and be efficient with those dollars and go from there. So
I think that's a really good point, as far as the annual contributions.
Okay. So what's our wish, to move that to the full commission?
Take it out of this budget, or?
Yeah, because other departments come to us, ask for money, as, when I say us, the full county commission. It would not be unusual for that to happen. I just think it's kind of prudent for us to do it that way.
I wouldn't argue with
And
that
if I
point.
can, Chairman, if I can add to that, I've been doing this for 6 years the same way, and we have already agreed to change the process, but I really feel that we are bringing in those dollars and those funds for the fairgrounds and for the motorsports park, so it fits with this board versus the commission, and you guys are already formed as a commission on here, essentially, I guess, in a technical way. Is there any reason why you would want to move it out of the park board's hands, being that for the county parks event?
I mean, you do have a point, Lisa. I mean, we are quorumed here. We have all of our county commissions here. So we wouldn't necessarily have to move it out of the park board, but I think I think we need to settle on a process here. That everybody's good with. So I would look for, I guess, I'm not sure I have a good suggestion how we move it forward as far as.
I'd be fine with it coming to us, this board that's sitting up here today versus others, and make a recommendation. We're probably gonna bless most of the recommendations. I get a little concerned when I hear the point that someone might be authorized to spend money on our behalf, and, when you talk about the responsibility and the,
So are you looking at dollar amount?
no, I think.
Or
the ones-
every dollar?
No, I think the 170 is fine. So if,
Okay.
if a proposal comes in that X amount of dollars, that goes to the Rough Rider Commission, we review it, we stamp it, we approve it, or,
They physically come in and ask for the money.
yeah, or come through, what Lisa's talked about. Yeah, but rather than us, right now, we're kind of committing the money before we approve the spending. That's where I think the problem is, so.
So when,
Yes, and we did talk about that process, in my budget meeting, and Commissioner Messner was there, and we determined that we were changing it so that there was a minimum of 3 of us discussing how those funds would be allocated, and bring the list to the commission and park board for approval there. Ultimately, the commission does approve these funds, and you're right, they're doing it after the fact because we changed the process in the middle of the game. And so we're kind of playing catch up here. So we have agreed to move that process. I have written the process. I can send that out to you guys
That'd be
if you
great.
want
Okay.
Because-
to review it and just approve the process part of it.
in the process would include what they're gonna spend that money on?
Correct, yep, because those are the discussions that happen currently is
Okay.
how they're spending it. They have to give us information on how they spent it and what they're doing with it. And then I also look at other things after the fact of how well was it attended? Was it a good event? Was it representative of the county park board and say the Fair Association or the motorsports people? Did it represent them well? I have changed allocations in the past to not either support an event just because of the way it was ran. And so that is something that, really I will know versus some of you that don't go to the event because somebody's going to come in there and tell you how great their event was, but I can maybe tell you otherwise. So some
Right.
of that will have to be some discussion with that small group of people that we choose.
So you'll submit that process to us?
Yes, I sure can.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I think we can move on. Do we want to go through all the new business? We can probably
The
do
out-of-state
it quick.
travel, because that needs to be.
Okay. Out-of-state travel for the International Fair Convention for Lisa, or is it for Lisa, or is Lisa talking about it? I don't know.
It's for myself to
Okay.
go to the International Fair Convention in Phoenix. It's held November 29th to December 5th. And there's no cost, to the park board, but I am going as an employee of Stark County, so just wanted to get that approval, from you on there.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve Lisa attending the International Fair Convention?
I'll make the motion.
Corey moves, there's a second.
I'll second.
Bernie seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, have fun, Lisa. Fairgrounds master plan layout and phasing revisions, I think we have adequately addressed, well, not maybe adequately, but
We
we've
beat that
addressed
one
as,
pretty good.
we've beat the horse today.
Yeah.
Let's move on to requests for proposals for the motorsports park lease beginning in 2026.
And that was just a question if you wanted us to put that out for, proposals to be received in November. We never did make a motion to do that, and I don't know if you need to, or if we were talking about, the property itself, whether it was going to be feasible to retain it in the county. So that was my discussion point on there. If you could give some direction for that, I would appreciate it.
I would move we authorize a RFP on the motorsports park lease for beginning in 2026 with an option to begin in 2025.
I second.
Any other discussion with that? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes. All right, our next regular meeting date, I believe, is November 7th, not
Yes.
the 4th. Okay. Okay, motion to adjourn,
So move.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.